world is on fire. The planet is burning and devastation surrounds us. This video will scare you and devastate you, hopefully enough to make you grasp the true horror of the climate catastrophe. The Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets are radically losing mass. Data from NASA and GRCE show that since 1993, Greenland has been losing an average of 286 billion tons of ice every year, while Antarctica gets stripped of 127 billion tons of ice each year. The amount of ice mass loss is climbing at a heart-wrenching, disastrous rate. In fact, in 2019, from June 11 to 20, Greenland lost 80 billion tons of ice in the span of 10 days itself. But the story gets even more horrifying. On August 1st, the Greenland ice sheet experienced its biggest single day of ice loss in recorded history. About 12.5 billion tons of ice melted and poured into the Atlantic Ocean. 12.5 billion in one day. To put these numbers into context, every 1 billion ton of ice lost creates enough water to fill 400,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The effects are in full purview. In Montana's Glacier National Park, the number of glaciers has declined to fewer than 30 from more than 150 in 1910. The famed snows of Kilimanjaro have melted more than 80% since 1912. Glaciers in the Garhwal Himalayas in India are retreating so fast, researchers believe that most Himalayan glaciers could virtually disappear by 2035. The entire Arctic ice cover could also be gone by 2050. This melting catastrophe has direct links to the global sea levels, which have risen about 8 inches in the last century and are expected to rise up to 32 inches or higher by the end of the 21st century. Moreover, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the acidity of surface ocean waters has increased by about 30%. The amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by the upper layer of the oceans is increasing by 2 billion tons every year. The human race is releasing 40 billion metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere every year, and we are going to add some 800 billion metric tons over the next 2 decades. In the entire cosmos, the blue planet has incredible bragging rights. Life. It is home to delicious flora and fauna. But this unparalleled gift could not find less appreciation in the empty void of interstellar space. Over the course of the last century, over 500 animal species have become extinct, and in the past decade itself, we have annihilated the black rhinoceros, the Formosan leopard, all 3 species of hippopotamus in Madagascar, and the Yangtze River dolphins, among so many others. And of course, magnificent species like the Galapagos penguin, polar bears, the red panda, the Bengal tigers, and the snow leopard all stand on the dire verge of extinction. Over half of the tropical forests worldwide have been destroyed since the 1960s. Every second, more than 1 hectare of tropical forests is destroyed or drastically degraded. This means that about 18 million hectares of forest cover, an area the size of England and Wales, is being felled every year. In the last 40 years itself, almost 1 billion hectares, the equivalent of Europe, has gone. At the current rate, in another 100 years, it will all be gone. Just think about that. The entire forest cover. Poof. Oh, and you won't be able to eat chocolate after 2050. Cacao plants are predicted to disappear sometime around then. The Amazon itself is losing the equivalent of nearly 1 million soccer fields of forest cover each year. The Amazon serves as the lungs of the planet. It is responsible for capturing 25% of the global CO2 emissions. 25. 1/4. But nobody cares. The Brazilian Amazon has experienced over 100,000 fires since January 2019 and has had virtually no media coverage or efforts being made to save it. The world was stunned and left diabolically helpless in the wake of the egregious Australian bushfires. The disaster destroyed 46 million acres of forest cover, 6,000 buildings, and killed at least 34 people. Over 1 billion animals were killed. Over 300 million tons of CO2 emissions. Day turned into night as the smoke even crossed the South Pacific Ocean to reach Argentina. But for a species that is so self-centered, we don't even seem to care about our own. Worldwide, almost half the global population lives in poverty. That's 4 billion people. According to the World Bank, over 700 million people live on less than $1.9 a day. So there you go. Ecological imbalance and climate change has created a destabilized biosphere comprised of radioactive fallout, tectonic unrest, air, water and soil toxicity, and so much more. But we haven't only destroyed the ecosystem. We have put our own lives in acute danger. Millions die from preventable diseases every year. In the coming years, diseases like malaria are expected to spread, while the resurgence of the Zika virus in a more potent, lethal form is expected in the coming decades. The ability of viruses to mutate is increasing, and our immune systems are languishing. As of 7th April 2020, the coronavirus pandemic has already claimed over 1.3 million cases and 70,000 deaths, and is only rising steadily. We're nearing the end of the video, and I sense you must be desperate for me to cue the hopeful music and talk about the silver lining and all the glorious efforts being made. But there are no real efforts, no lining in the sky. The world right now is a dystopian nightmare that would scare even Ray Bradbury and Aldous Huxley. The truth is, there is no one final solution. There is no grand savior. This is a dynamic, multi-structured problem with a million moving components that requires every ounce of our attention and effort. The SDGs help. The internet helps. Reposting, tweeting, creating awareness. Those GoFundMe campaigns and donations, however little, do help. Genuinely. Not using plastic-based products, disposing waste properly, conserving water. At the personal level, that is great. But what's really causing this impending apocalypse to inch ever so closer? The ability of the human race to be ignorant, selfish, and have unreasonable vested interests. Geopolitical disarray, nation-states grappling for power in an unstable global economy. Faceless multinational corporations abusing the ecosystem and human rights. Powerful, well-connected, wealthy individuals in positions of immense influence and power who create false narratives to confuse people and misdirect them. A population that worships non-existent abstract entities, fights and dies over them, believes in ludicrous religious dogma and pseudoscience, propagating fear where there should be only love. As Bo Burnham would say, you argue and you bicker and you fight. Atheists and Catholics, Jews and Hindus argue day and night over what they think is true. But no one entertains the thought that maybe God does not believe in you.